Well, welcome everyone to another coach video tip. My name's Dan Foster. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and an Executive Coach here at Building Champions. And today I have the wonderful privilege of speaking to my friend and a great ICF certified coach, Genena Armstrong. Genena, it is great to be with you again, my friend.
You, Dan. I just love talking to you. You're one
Great.
of my favorites, but don't tell anybody.
Okay, sounds good. So, hey, Genena, in this week's Coach Video Tip, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence, otherwise known as EQ. Some people say EI, but it's
Mhm.
really emotional intelligence is all about having those abilities and skills to recognize and understand and just use the power of emotions to just increase your overall effectiveness as a leader. Um,
Mhm.
so, Genena, I'm super excited to talk to you about this because I know that you bring this up in your coaching sessions as you're working with leaders and small business owners, individual contributors. So, I'm ready to jump in if you are.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Okay,
definitely.
sounds good. So, tell us, let's just start off. Why is EQ, emotional intelligence, why is it such a game changer for leaders to kind of understand this?
Yeah. Honestly, it's just one of those things because it really helps enable leaders to connect deeply with their teams,
Yes.
having high EQ. And leaders who develop their EQ will foster an environment of trust and collaboration.
Yeah.
And because they understand and manage their own emotions, they're able to navigate stressful situations with
Mhm.
composure. They are able to make decisions and just really mitigate a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
So high EQ also, it just allows leaders to empathize with their team members,
Yeah.
which obviously can boost morale and motivation.
Yes.
And really in the end, it just helps leaders ultimately drive higher performance and organizational success.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, it's about creating that environment where I don't know, people aren't afraid to like show up to work, right? Like I've had a leader before with low EQ where it's like, okay, what am I getting today? This is a stressful situation. Like, how are
Yeah,
they going to respond? And you don't want your people walking on eggshells, right?
yeah,
And so it's if you can have that high EQ, like you said, it creates that atmosphere for trust and performance. And so that's great. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So what's at risk if what's potentially at risk, or maybe a better way to say it, what are the consequences for a leader if they don't focus on emotional intelligence?
Yeah, if leaders choose to neglect to improve their EQ, they're just really at risk for creating a toxic work environment.
Yeah.
So lack of EQ, it usually just encompasses poor communication, low
Yeah.
morale, high employee turnover. And so these leaders, they struggle to understand and manage their own emotions, which can lead
Yeah.
to erratic decision making and increased conflict with their teams.
Yeah.
And just additionally, it's the lack of empathy can really alienate employees and reduce their engagement and
Yeah.
productivity, which then can lead to significantly hampering the organization's overall performance.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. One of the
Yeah.
things that I learned when I was leading people was that there's a few questions that they're always asking. Do you know me? Are you for me? Do you care for me? But one of them is are you going to be consistent, right? And a leader with low EQ is often inconsistent in terms of how they show up.
Mhm.
And I remember that there were times when I was stressed as a leader and my emotions would be high because, maybe I'm stressed about the financials or we lost an account or whatever it might be. And I bring that into a team meeting, everybody's going to feed off of that energy, right? And
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like doomsday, and no one wants to be in the meeting, and there's no brainstorming, there's no innovation, there's no creativity because
Yeah.
the EQ is so low as well.
It's
Also,
so low. But you know what? Let me just say this, Dan. Having high EQ,
yeah,
you people that have high EQ, leaders that have high EQ, recognize when they're in a low EQ
yes,
moment.
yep,
So having that awareness of when you're in one of those moments really I advise leaders
Ah,
to take a step back and make a decision as to whether they're going to show up or not. And I
yes.
don't mean just like,
Yeah.
disappear,
Right,
but
right.
maybe that's a time to reschedule. Maybe
There
that's
you
a time to pivot and invite
go.
someone
Yep.
else to come in and lead or whatever the case. But I typically, if I find myself in a place like that and I'm able to adjust, I do.
That's
And
so great.
so,
I
yeah,
love it because really what you're talking about there is not, it's, yeah, it's self-awareness, but then
right,
it's also selflessness. It's right. It's not all about you. So like, I
right.
loved what you said. Like if you're self-aware, I shouldn't be leading this meeting. I'm going to have someone else lead it because I'm really triggered right now, or my EQ is really low. I'm going to have someone else do it. There's almost a humility there in that as
It
well
is.
to say, you know what, someone else can do this. It doesn't always have to be me. So I love that tip. That's great,
Yeah,
Genena.
yeah, yeah. I really do believe in that, and I practice that myself.
Yeah.
Because, and what I think in my mind when that happens is, you know what? I don't. The people that I'm interacting with don't deserve to have a low EQ, Janina.
That's
So I'm not
good.
going to expose them to that, right? I just don't
Yes,
think it's fair, and I care enough about the people, and I think leaders should care enough about their people to
absolutely.
not show that side of them, I guess.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's talk about tips. What can leaders do to improve their EQ, increase it, show up with high levels of EQ, if you will?
Yeah, well, my recommendation is the first recommendation I have is to take an EQ assessment, which
Great.
we
Yes.
have at
Yep.
the Champions, and really find out where you score with
Yes.
regard to self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and
Yep.
then how you are aware, how much you're aware and regulated with others,
Good.
right?
Yep.
And so that assessment is also a game changer because it's like right there in black and white. You get to
Yeah.
take it, and then also, that report offers best practices to improve. And
Yes.
yes, you can improve your EQ. So I want to say that because some people
Yes.
think, oh, well, I'm born this way.
Right.
I
This is
can't.
just how I am. You got to deal with
No, no way. You know what?
it.
No, no, no. And so
Right.
I just feel like that to me is what I would recommend first and
Great.
foremost. And then from there, I would just say work with your coach on what are some tangible action steps
Yes.
you can take to improve EQ. And so I think being honest with yourself
Mhm.
about where you are and when you're taking that assessment, be okay with the results because some
Yeah.
people will be like, I'm just offended. I don't want
Yeah.
to, this
Yeah.
isn't true.
Exactly.
Again, the self-awareness, right? And
Yeah.
so I just think that those are that's what I would recommend.
Great, great. And I love that. I love that you mentioned just having a coach, a mentor, that person by your side, almost that you give permission to say, hey, help me. Let's think about this assessment results, but then also you give them permission to hold you accountable, right? To like how you're showing up. And I think that's so important for leaders, whether you're in the workplace or even at home. Like my wife, Sarah, I've
Yeah.
given her permission to be like, hey, call me out. If you know I'm having a low EQ moment, like you've got permission, sweetie, just let me
Yes.
know. Yeah,
Yes.
it doesn't mean I'm not offended when she does
Yeah.
it, of course, but but it's still, I love that I have that sort of
Yeah.
relationship and accountability with her. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because EQ is about where you show up, not just at work, but at home and
yeah,
everywhere.
yes,
Where you show
exactly.
up in your community, in your church, wherever you are, it is just, it carries over.
It
So
does. It does. Well, Janina, this has been great. It's a wonderful intro for our folks that are following us and everyone. If you don't know, our theme this month is emotional intelligence. We've got blog posts, videos. We've got this coaching tip with Janina. But if you want to know more about how Janina works with clients on their emotional intelligence, then I can't recommend her highly enough. I think she's an amazing coach. And if you're interested in one of those assessments and having her help you debrief it, I know she'd love to do that as well. So you can go to our website, buildingchampions.com, and you can connect with Janina on LinkedIn. And Janina, I just want to say thank you. It's great talking with you. Thank you so much. I know you're helping all of the people that are following us when you share these great tips of how you're working with leaders. So thank
yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate the invitation.
You bet. Absolutely. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.